Welcome to the Motivated Martial Arts Podcast. Your hosts, Jackson White and Gavin Cook, have been friends and Taekwondo training partners for over 40 years. This podcast will bring you a mixture of their life stories, martial arts, and business experiences to motivate you in life and throughout your martial arts journey. Adding in a mixture of inspiring interviews and some of the best traditional martial artists around today. So over to your hosts, the Motivated Martial Artists.
Welcome to the Motivated Martial Artists podcast with me, Gavin Cook.
And me, Jackson White.
And today we've got Dave Gentry on the show. So Dave has recently been awarded his BCA, which is the British Citizens Award from the Queen, which is something pretty cool for things that he's done within the martial arts industry. He runs a kickboxing academy. He's studied at Laugar and a couple of other martial arts, and now he's an independent instructor. We met Dave at the Martial Arts Illustrated Award late last year, and thought it'd be a good opportunity to try and get him on the show now to talk about, obviously his schools and what he does in the martial arts industry, and certainly really keen to understand the stuff that he does within the schools. He does a lot of knife crime talks and things like that. So it's fantastic to have you on the show today, Dave.
Yeah, pleasure to be here in these tough times that we're living in at the moment. But yeah, great to be on the show, and nice talking to you two guys for sure.
Yeah, good. So what we're going to do then, Dave, I'm going to kick off with the first question. So really, the first question for everybody is, we'd like to find out a little bit about your backstory, where you grew up, your education, how you got on at school, and ultimately what led you into martial arts.
Okay, well, I started when I was quite young. Obviously, the in man at that time was Mr. Bruce Lee himself. Obviously, big inspiration for many people. Saw a few of his films, and obviously that got me. It gave me the interest to start doing martial arts. I mean, the first thing I did when I saw one of his films, I went out in the back garden, chopped up my dad's broom handle, and got a toilet chain and made some nunchakas. Then started twirling them around in the house, and smashed a few light bulbs in the house. Got in trouble quite a lot. And after that, I found a school in Slough, and that was run by Neville Ray, Laugar. So that's where I first began. Which was, obviously Neville's still going now, and he never seems to age. Neville never seems to age at all. Every time you see him, it's like he looks exactly the same. But yeah, then over the years, I did a few other different martial arts. Then about 1980, I started up with the PKA, a local club, started in Uxbridge where I live. And started from there, was with PK for quite a few years, and over the last 4 years I left them and become an independent person, running my own schools called Rock Solid Kickboxing, and been lucky enough over the years to teach people like Scott Atkins and Lee Latford Evans some steps. So I've been quite lucky with the people I've been teaching for sure. Obviously I've got a few Hall of Fames around the world, and got a few awards here and there, which is nice. But obviously the main aim of my life is obviously teaching other people. Do a lot of work in schools from day to day. Literally every single day I'll go in school, apart from at the moment, of course, and teaching schools.
So when you first started martial arts, you mentioned that, Bruce Lee, like so many other people, was their inspiration back in the 70s, 80s. What was it that drew martial arts to you? When you got into the first dojan, you kicked off your shoes and socks and you got in there. What was it that really, got your juices flowing?
I think you just wanted to be like Bruce Lee. I was a small guy, and I thought, this is a good way of looking after yourself, good way of keeping fit, and it's exciting stuff. And everybody wanted to be like him. This just got me inspired. To start. I did leave martial arts for a little while, and then obviously when then we had Van Damme come out with his film Kickboxer. Which was another guy sort of like, and he was got that quite flamboyant, quite, he had that little bit of something extra. And then that was my second start of getting back into martial arts, and that kicked me off, and I've never stopped since, to be honest.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting that these sort of martial arts pioneers have had such an influence in so many people's lives.
Oh God, yeah. It's crazy, but you watch these films, and like most kids, you've got a bit of testosterone in your system. Then you think, oh God, yeah, I like to do that. Yeah, I want to be strong and fit. having a look after stuff. Yeah, it's, you know, some of these films are great to watch as well. You know, so yeah, it does get the old juices flowing for sure.
So when you were doing your martial arts in the early days, what was your preference? Was it the form side or was it the fighting competitive side?
Well, to be honest, with forms, I didn't mind doing the forms. I quite like doing them, especially the Lao Gar stuff is quite nice to do. I did have a little dab at karate and taekwondo, and I sort of get a little bit bored with that. Don't know why. I think, I don't know, maybe a little bit long. I wanted to get a little more active. And of course, when Van Damme came on with kickboxing, it was a different style of doing martial arts. And then obviously, like, you know, more freestyle that you could do pad work routines, which are more exciting. You can hit pads. And I prefer to do more stuff like that rather than doing katas. I prefer to hit something than actually doing it to thin air, to be honest. So that's what sort of got me into the kickboxing style of stuff.
Did you ever get someone to drop coconuts out of a tree onto your abs?
No, not that, and I haven't kicked any bamboo trees and things like that. You know, I can still walk normally. I never really get that kicking trees. I don't get that. I really don't.
I think the philosophy behind it, isn't it? It's to numb your the nerve endings in your shins. But I think there's better ways to do that. To be honest, like
I think so. I mean, yeah. Well, you see a lot of these people now, these martial arts guys in their late having mobility skills because they kick the hell out of their shins on trees. But there you go.
Yeah, well, and hip replacements as well. That's the other thing, isn't it? You know, all these martial artists.
Oh God, yeah.
Back in them days of all that, I think I was talking about like Superfoot Wallace the other day. I think he had about 6 hip replacements. I think now. I'm sure Van Damme's probably on his way to a couple now. Wasn't it?
I can imagine so. Yeah.
Was it Bloodsport or Kickboxer, the one where he had the rope tied around his legs, didn't they? And they was pulling him into the splits.
I can't remember which one. I think it might have been Kickboxer. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah. I mean,
some of the old school methods of training. You certainly can't endorse them in today's society, can you?
No, I mean, that's the old school stuff. I mean, there are other ways of doing your flexibility stuff now. You know, you've got your leg stretching machines. You don't need to put 2 ropes out, do you?
Yeah. You shouldn't talk about leg stretching machine. Myself and Jackie have one between us, didn't we, Jackie?
I used to share every couple of months, swap it round.
Yeah, I think it half killed me. I think at one point.
Yeah. Well, I actually did a while ago. I used to write for a magazine called OK Famously Fit, which was run by Lee from Steps, and I used to do the martial arts section in it. And one of the ones I did was on flexibility stretching, and I had this leg stretching machine, and I sat on it and I did the old handle, and I got so far, and the girl who was taking the pictures decided that she'd do it a little bit further. And I can say I did scream a little bit, like, you know, she thought it was quite funny, but you know, but yeah, the old leg stretching.
Talk us through your sort of daily routine then, Dave. So obviously when you're training and obviously, especially while you're stuck at home now, I suppose it's giving people the chance to train a bit more. But what sort of things do you do to sort of keep yourself fit and keep yourself, you know, sort of focused on the martial arts?
Well, basically, I train every day. I've got my own little fitness studio that I have near where I live. It's not in my house, but it's at somewhere local. Obviously, I can't use it at the moment with clients, but I can use it myself. So go in there, train daily. I've got a little punch bag there, and you know, get on that, do some weights and stuff. Go on a bike ride. I'm doing a few videos at the moment for my students, trying to keep them motivated in this lockdown period where you can't do a lot, you can't teach. Because obviously at the end of the day, when we come back, we're going to need our students to be back with us, and trying to at the moment it's trying to keep them their enthusiasm up for them to keep going, to want to come back. Because I just think I think it'll be September time before we get back into teaching again, and I can see us losing a lot of students over this period of time, lack of interest. So at the moment, I'm just trying to do what I can just to keep them motivated and keep them active. By training myself and doing videos, obviously, you know, with my students, it gives them a little bit something to work towards as well. You know.
Yeah. What's your sort of breakdown of students in terms of sort of adults and children? Then, Dave, I know because I'm obviously myself being a full-time instructor, I know, you know, a lot of my club is full with families and children. But I'm
Yeah,
interested
I've got
to
loads
know
of families.
how you do yours.
Yeah. I mean, but predominantly my classes are full up with kids. You know, my kids' classes are absolutely rammed. I'm lucky that I've got some very good instructors that come along and help me out with the classes. I mean, I can have between 30 to 40 kids at a time. They're very, very busy classes. Adults, maybe not so busy, probably about 20 in each class. But I basically run classes every single day, you know, every evening. My days are normally very, very busy with classes at night. But during the day, I literally work in schools every single day. So Monday to Friday, I'll be out during the day in schools doing anti-bullying, anti-street and knife crime with kids. And one school that I work at, they're very, very good. One of the only schools that I know of actually have it as part of their PE curriculum, which I've been trying to get for years.
Yeah.
And I actually go in there, I teach them some moves, and they have they got to work on a 24 move pad work routine. They've got to break it down in 3 lots, 8, 8, and 8. Do the first 8, video it. Do the second 8, put it to 16, video it, and then do the final performance, which is 24 moves. And I mark them on that, which is part of their PE curriculum, which I think is fantastic. I think a lot of schools should look at that and maybe do it in the future. Obviously, in that time, I talked to them about the anti-bullying stuff and anti-street and knife crime, but basically it's around their PE anyway. So, but I think that's a very, very good thing to do. Yeah, I mean, basically, that's my sort of days, like working in schools. I do a few PTs from time to time in the day, and classes at night. I was doing a bit of football. I run a football team as well, believe it or not. So I'm always busy. But at the moment, I'm absolutely got nothing. But there you go.
So what are you doing at the moment then? Are you live streaming your classes? Are you just self videoing and putting them on live for your students to engage
what
in?
I'm doing little videos, and I'm posting them on. I've got a little WhatsApp group with my students, so I'm posting them on that. I've done a few on Instagram, just to try and keep them interested at the moment. I know you guys are working on a new platform, which sounds very interesting. But obviously, people are going to be looking at in the future, and so I'll be interested in seeing that over the next couple of days. But yeah, it's trying to work out maybe a good system to get your students interacting with you. I mean, I know a lot of people live stream Zoom and etc. Facebook, they're doing a lot on Facebook, a lot on Instagram. You'll see, but I'm looking at trying to do something more for student based. I mean, if you put it on Facebook, Instagram, everybody can see it. And eventually, I think there comes a time that you need to really rein in your own students that they can start working on the syllabus stuff that you actually teach. That's what I'm looking at.
Most definitely. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people, and I think it's it's good promotion, getting their content out there, showing people what can be achieved. But ultimately, you're still going to need somebody to help you implement that. You can practice the moves, but if you're not practicing them with a bit of critique or some positive criticism and some coaching, you're not really going to be learning. You'll be mimicking, and learning are two different things, really. So I think you're right. There needs to be a way to engage with your students directly on the areas that they really need to focus on.
Yeah, and it's going to be very difficult for them too, because obviously most people, I mean, especially in kickboxing, we work in pairs. We always work in pairs. Yeah. And then unless you've got somebody at home that can help you, then you are doing it to thin air. So it's going to be difficult for them. And obviously, like you said, with the critique of it and the technique of the way they move, the way they punch and kick, for me is very, very important that they get the movement correct. And doing it on your own is going to be very, very difficult, But if they're lucky enough to have a partner or husband, boyfriend, etc., father, mother, it'd be great. I mean, it might be an actual way in September time. We might see an influx of new students with all the people helping out the martial arts people now that are training. We might see an influx with like mums and dads and brothers and sisters and friends coming along, So that could be one bonus in the future, I suppose.
Well, we've had some experience of that, haven't we, Gavin, already?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've like I said, I'm doing live streaming, and I do it. I'm streaming twice a day at the moment. And I'm getting loads of my parents that are joining in on the classes that would never have normally joined in the regular class. It's quite interesting to see them really join in with it. And I thought, so there's that side of it that's great. But I think it's ultimately, the martial arts instructor, I don't think they need to worry. I think there's a lot of worry and a lot of fear at the moment, thinking, oh, I'm going to lose all my students. And because at the end of the day, the virtual thing is great. and the virtual thing is fantastic as an aid, and I think it's always going to be here now. I think it's going to grow and grow and grow. But ultimately, martial arts, if you're going to become a black belt, you've got to actually go to a class, and you've got to hit a bag, and you've got to get punched in the face a few times, haven't you? And which you can't do.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
Can't do
Yeah, you've got
virtually.
to be hands-on.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. You've got to be hands-on. And what I like about what you're saying about, you're doing at home, these children doing at home, students doing at home, that they're engaging their family, parents, friends, etc., etc. The thing is, as well, they're looking at the fitness side of it as well, because now you haven't got the gyms out there. Everyone goes to a gym. Everyone's got a Zumba class or this class or that class. Yeah. And the thing is, these people are sitting at home where their children and family are doing martial arts and they're exercising at the same time. All of a sudden, they've now got some exercise to do as well, which I think is another key thing. And martial arts, as we know, is a very, very good way of keeping fit, an excellent way of keeping fit, and we all know that. So obviously these people now are probably engaging, like I said, maybe in the future we get an influx of new students. So that could be, a big bonus in the future for sure.
I think everyone's going to be desperate, aren't they? Desperate to get out of the house at some point. And it'll be so nice stepping back into a proper class and actually having proper students that you can teach and get the pads back out.
Exactly.
But I agree with you. I think it's going to be a slow burnout. I don't think it's going to be a case of switch the switch, everyone's back in class. I think people are going to be
it won't work like that.
Aren't they? And there's going to be a lot of sanitizing your pads and
I was doing that before. I was actually cleaning my pads, and I had sanitizer in the classes, and when the pads were finished, if those pads you use, you don't share them. And I was cleaning them. Actually, I cleaned them in the class so people could see it. I was actually cleaning there and then, before and after the class, to make sure, even before the lockdown. But
that's really good practice, that is, and I think that's something. Certainly just listening to you there, I clean the pads at the end of the class, but certainly a little bit more, I think hygiene management within the classes is going to be key moving forward.
Yeah, do you remember the days where you used to carry around bags of boxing gloves and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I used to take boxing gloves, and I thought, what the hell is that smell in my car? And of course, there's boxing gloves. Because, when you got boxing gloves, I always tell students, when you get your boxing gloves, do not share them, because first of all, they mold to your hand. Secondly, if you let someone else use them, it's different sweat. Then you're sharing the same sweat. Of course, then we had the swine flu. That's one of the reasons why that's one of the reasons why I stopped carrying boxing gloves. So I'll never ever carry boxing gloves anymore, for sure. But even focus pads, I find focus pads, a lot have got a canvas on. And of course, sweat goes into the canvas. But when you've got PU ones, they're easier to clean. Or level ones are much easier to clean, but PU ones are, for me, are the best ones, because you just put your Dettol on, you can give them a good clean up, and no sweat sticks in the canvas. That's why I use PU.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I can see there's probably a bit of a white paper to be written around that, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, cleanliness is next to godliness, as they say.
Very, very true. So. One of the things that we spoke about prior to the interview, which I think is a great thing, you were awarded a British Citizens Award recently.
Yeah, basically, I've been working in schools for, I would say, about 20 years now. I've been working in London. I've even worked at Tottenham Football Club, talking to local groups about the dangers of bullying and street and knife crime, trying to get into youngsters of today of how dangerous it is, and that the effects that it causes on people's families, etc., and try and steer them away from that bad side of life. I've been doing it for like I said, 20 years. I even wrote a letter years and years ago to the Mayor of London, trying to get martial arts taught in schools. To deal with this sort of thing. But obviously I got a letter back of, are you after funding? I said, no, I'm not after funding. I want to try and get martial arts taught in schools, so I think it's a good idea. Yeah. Now, I actually work in one school. I'm in this one school. I'm in there literally 5 days a week. And obviously, one of them is the curriculum that I do with the children there. They actually work on their PE, and it's part of their PE, which I think is a fantastic idea. But I've heard a lot of martial arts guys talking about, should we be teaching martial arts in school? But it's a different way of doing it. It's not all about teaching all the techniques and you can do this and do that. It's about the more sensible things you talk to them about. like I say, one of the first things I'll say, look, what do you do when you go on the train? You sit on the train, you get your phone out. With your phone, you've got a clear case. In that case on the back of your phone, you've got a £20 note, £50 note, and your credit card. You're on that train, you've got 7 people. You're on your own. 5 people get off, there's 2 left. One of these guys is a criminal, we've seen your phone. So it's trying to get things like that into people's head is to be careful what you do.
Situational awareness, isn't it? It's a lot of talking about, you know, self-defense, and it's about situational awareness, identifying some of the areas which can be dangerous, so you don't enter into those areas, but also reducing the risk in when you are in an area which you could consider being dangerous. It's making sure that you're reducing your risk to become a target or a victim.
Yeah, you got that absolutely spot on, and that's what basically that is my main theme. Is when I do these seminars, is around that awareness of making sure that you're safe. Don't do stupid things like get your phone out and sit on the train with your AirPods. And you know, I mean, recently very nice guy from my club gave me a nice Rolex watch, and there's no way.
I remember that. I was at the Martial Arts Awards, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very nice guy, Scott. And you know, and that's a Rolex watch. So I'm not going to sit on the train with a Rolex watch. You know, and showing it off, and because you become a target. I mean, I did see a thing a while ago. A guy was driving down in London, hand on the window, showing his Rolex watch. And next minute, he gets a motorbike come up and attacks him and steals it. You know.
Yeah.
So you know, like I said,
it's just been a bit streetwise, isn't it? I think as well. I mean,
yeah, and a lot of these kids are not. I mean, how many times you've been on the train? And it's not just kids; it's like adults as well. You know. They're oblivious to what they're doing and how they become a target. You know, just trying to get those things away from becoming a target. And it was getting dangerous out there. Obviously, at the moment, it's got a lot quieter. We haven't heard much knife crime recently, obviously, because we're on social distancing. You can't go around in big groups. So, I mean, you know, and that's one thing that has happened. The knife crime seemed to be gone a little bit, you know.
It's interesting. I was thinking that the other day. I was thinking about, you know, one of the good things that's come out of this coronavirus. Obviously, always trying to look for the positive. Is that obviously, you know, the problem that we have with gangs at the moment. You know, I mean, that's probably going to really be, you know, on the downturn. Because obviously they can't, you know, they can't hang around, and hopefully there's more police on the street, and even maybe the army getting involved to a certain degree.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, since we've had this lockdown, I've not heard. I've heard just once of any knife crime. I mean, before we was hearing on a daily basis, knife crime here, knife crime there. Someone's been stabbed, someone's been stabbed. But I mean, I've hardly heard it at all since we've been on lockdown.
Do you know what? Yeah, do you know what? I was thinking that myself, and only till last night it was reported on the news there was an incident in Coventry which led to a death. Last night.
Yeah. There was one in London. But I mean, we was literally getting it on a daily basis, not just one. We're getting 2 or 3. Right. But at the moment, you know, we're getting very little now.
Dave, is there just obviously, I suppose, and obviously, I know obviously I'm understanding what you do in the schools and the knife crime and the gangs and stuff like that, and it's, you know, very sort of commendable what you're doing. Yeah. Was there a incident that's maybe led you down that path? Was it like a catalyst that maybe you thought, actually, you know what, this is what I need to be teaching. This is, you know, I need to educate these kids. Did anything happen to you or a member of your family or someone close, or what sort of took you down that path?
Well, I mean, I've been teaching kids for many, many years, and a lot of these, especially the younger kids, it was more on the bullying side that I started, because a lot of youngsters get bullied in school. And I always believe that if you can get to kids before the age of 13, get in their minds and change their minds about bullying and the dangers of street and knife crime, if you can get to them before 13 years old, then you can make a big difference. I think after 13, I think you've got more trouble to trying to change them.
Yeah, what is it? So you can't bend a tree once it's grown, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think if you get to kids when they're sort of younger, before 13, I think you can make a big difference. And that's what I was thinking. If I can go into schools, talk to these kids, try and make them understand about the dangers of street and knife crime, the effects it has on people. Not only the effects it has on people, but the effects it has on themselves. You know, like I say to them, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to play for Man United, I want to play for Arsenal, I want to do this, I want to be that, I want to be this. said, well, you're not going to get there if you go on a life of crime. You know, you're going to get a bad reputation, sir. You're going to get a police record about you, and you will not get what you want. So change it now. If you want to achieve that, go and achieve that. So for me, it was getting the kids at a younger age more than anything to try and change them. And I used to see a lot of kids come into class that are bullied. So it's trying to make them a little bit more confident, and then talking to the kids that, you know, we teach classes. We know we've got a few bullies here and there in classes. We're going to have a few. You're going to have both sides of it. You're going to have students that get bullied, and you're going to have students that are bullies. So you try and change the ones that could be bullies. I mean, you're an instructor. You can always pick out the ones you think, oh, maybe they're a little bit too much. And the ones that are a little bit more quieter, maybe give them a little bit more confidence to deal with situations, you know?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So who nominated you for your award then, Dave?
It was two of my students, actually, that have been, one of the young girls, she's been with me since she was 14, she's now 27. And she put me forward to it, obviously, for all the work that I've done over the years. You know, I've been very, very lucky, especially with, you know, with doing this, and I've had big results in a lot of schools. I've been very popular, especially in my local area. But it wasn't just for that. I mean, I don't know whether you know that I was shortlisted for Pride of Britain Award a few years ago.
No, that's
a
great achievement.
And I was a local Hillingdon hero, got a hero award for saving another boy's life. I mean, basically, the Pride of Britain one was I found, I mean, this is not a great story. I'll do it very quickly. It was that I used to do gardens. I walked into a garden, and I walked into a back garden, and I found a 4-year-old boy hanging by his neck on a washing line, nearly dead.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I literally saved his life, went over, pulled him off, and got him going again, saved his life. So that's why I got nominated for Pride of Britain Award. But one of the good things about being a martial artist, as you know, is we do first aid. So,
yes.
And I was very calm in that situation. Then another situation a few years ago was when I was teaching. It was funny enough, I actually didn't do this through my first aid. I actually did it at one of the schools that I work at, and they're doing what you call an anaphylactic course. Yep. Anyway, I did an anaphylactic course. 2 weeks later, one of the kids from the class came out of the toilet, said he felt well. He had bubbles all over his body, like bubble wrap, and face was all distorted. And of course, then I realised he was an anaphylactic shock. Never had it in his life, and he collapsed and he nearly died. But because I knew what it was, I got the ambulance there very, very quickly, saved his life. So I've got a hidden hero for that. So it's things like that over the years that I've done. You know, I'm a great believer in fate. There's a lot of things that happen to me. You know, simple things like, I mean, I went to a football match recently because I won a football team. And then this woman walked through the bush, she was covered in blood. And she'd had a car accident. And, but I sorted her out. I did some first aid on her, got the ambulance to come along, and she was sorted out. But she was looking for a dog that jumped out of the car. It was literally things like that. I was in the bookies, doing my football on a Saturday, which we can't do at the moment. And I'm sitting there when suddenly there's a big whack on my leg, and this guy goes on the floor, he's had a heart attack. So I looked after him for 2 hours.
I'll tell you what, Dave. I'll tell you what. Jackie, when Dave invites us down to see him, let's cancel that show. We have a
yeah. I was just thinking that myself.
Yeah, honestly, these things happen to me so many times. I cannot tell you the amount of things that happen to me like this. It's incredible. I actually did a thing with an MMP talk with Black Lloyd a while ago, and it was called Inner Hero. And there's been a big talk about, you know, the fate of my life and the things that happen to me on a regular basis. It's always something going on. But I mean, unfortunately, at the moment, I haven't got the magic wand to sort this problem out that we've got now. You know.
No, I know, and it is. I mean, I know I was speaking to you off air, obviously before we went live, and you was telling me about the. Obviously, there's quite a lot of the corona stuff has hit your family quite hard, hasn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, my mother-in-law's got it badly. She's in hospital at the moment. Thankfully, it sounds like she's pulling through it, but she's been in a very, very bad way. I mean, I think if the ambulance wouldn't have come, it could have been on the bad side. But actually, they got her in the hospital very quickly, and you've got to say they're doing a fantastic job, an amazing job. You know, and hopefully within the next couple of days she'll be home. So thankfully it seems like she's beaten it. So which is, you know, round of applause for her, for sure.
That's great news. Great news. And it's do you know what? It's great to hear stories of people that are potentially beating it and have beat it, because when you turn the news on, the good news stories at the moment are few and far between. So that's great news.
Yeah. I mean, she's in the local hospital, and I researched the other day, and there's 91 people that have come out of the hospital with beating it. So there are stories like that on a daily basis. There's another one in Harefield. There's 82 people beating it and come out. So, and my in-laws are nearly in their 80s. So, fair play to them. They've got through this,
No, I think it's important, just to reiterate, everyone doing their bit. And I think, a lot of people don't understand it's not necessarily about, it taking people's lives. We can save the lives, providing the NHF doesn't get overwhelmed. And the best way to do that is to keep that self-isolation, keep the distances. And I don't want to sound like the Prime Minister, but stay at home. And,
100%.
That really is the case.
And get on your streaming, get on doing your martial arts. There you go. You guys are doing your new platform. There you go. So, you can do it in your back garden.
Exactly that.
Summer's got the good. Summer's coming. With the good weather's coming in. You can get in your back garden and do some stuff for sure. So I mean that's the way forward. As we know, that seems to be the way forward for everybody at the moment. Not just our industry, but for everybody.
Everybody. And I think we're in a lucky position because we can do it. You can do it on your own, self-isolated. You can't do your swimming, you can't do your football, your basketball, your rugby, but actually your martial arts, because it is, although it's done in a team environment and a group environment, it's very much an individual sport. And that's, I think, one of the benefits that we have. And something that, if this carries on for a prolonged period of time, we could see a greater uptake of martial arts purely because it can be done on your own.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is that I've been asked over for the last year from a supplement company that I deal with called BioSynergy, and they've been asking me to do a package, like a supplement package, plus you put your syllabus together and you put that as a whole package and you sell it to a person. They go on it, learn stuff, send you videos of what they're learning, etc. And that was a year ago, and I've never really took up on it, but obviously, that was a year ago, so you can see where the future's now going, for sure.
Yeah. No, most definitely. All right then, Dave. Just changing the subject, because we're gonna have to wrap up in a moment. Can you give us some, knowing where you are now and the journey that you've been through in your life and everything you've achieved, and some of the stuff has been absolutely fantastic. What advice would you give to a younger self, knowing what you know now?
For a younger person, first of all, don't get involved in crime, number one. Always number one. Never get involved in crime. Have a goal in your life, especially in martial arts. If you're interested in martial arts, look at someone. Have a role model. Somebody that would like to look towards or becoming that person or the way they are in their lives. Is to work towards that. Be positive. Never be negative. Literally work hard. Always work hard for what you want to achieve. I've been very lucky over the years that, one of my students was Scott Atkins. We all know Scott Atkins.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And I taught Scott for 5 years before he came big, and I looked after him for 5 years. But for me, he's a great role model because he's a lovely guy. If you ever speak to Scott, he's got such a good way about him, such a gentleman, and he texted me recently, he asked me how I was getting on, obviously worried that, the situation that he knows I teach daily. He actually sent me a message with fair play to him. It was very, very nice of him. I teach Lee from steps, pop group steps. I still teach him to this day. And they're good role models, Follow your role model, work hard, you can achieve it. Keep away from crime, keep away from the bad side of life. Just keep working hard. Simple as that, really.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great advice.
You can achieve what you want to achieve. If you want it, believe in it, go and get it. Just go and get it. You can get it. There's nothing stopping you.
No, I can concur with that totally. Setting those goals, have your long-term goal and then have your intermediate and small goals, to reach that. You're not just going to jump out of bed and become a Premier League footballer, or you're not going to become the world's #1 martial artist, or or a doctor. You go through setting yourself that long-term goal, have that vision up there in front of you, and then work out how you're going to step to each of those steps to get to where you want to.
And one other thing I would always say: be humble and help out other people that are not so talented as you are. Always help somebody else. If you think, okay, they're struggling a little bit, be nice, help them on a little bit. And that's the good thing about martial arts instructors. This is what we do. We're there to help people try and achieve what they can achieve. So help out others as well, for sure.
Yeah, no, fantastic.
Sound advice, Dave, for sure. So,
thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Listen, it's been awesome having you on the show today. Like I say, it's been nice to catch up.
It's a pleasure to speak to you guys, for sure.
We met you briefly at the MAI show last year. Like I said, I knew it would be a good opportunity to get you on at some point, and so there are some benefits of COVID-19 is that everyone's at home, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll be seeing each other again at some point in the near future at some of these awards or some of these shows that obviously now been cancelled. But I'm sure we'll catch up again very, very soon, and look forward to seeing this stuff that you're working on for the online stuff.
Hopefully it should be very, very soon. We're like as always with software, you're in the hands of the coders and the sort of designers.
I imagine they're quite busy at the moment as well, with a lot of people probably doing.
And they don't understand deadlines. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay then, lovely Dave. Thank you very much again, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you guys. Yeah, you take care, look after yourself, and stay safe and stay at home.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Dave.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and our Facebook group, The Motivated Martial Artist Podcast.
Or check us out on Instagram, The Motivated Martial Artists,
where you'll see much more content and early insight into some of the interviews and some of the guests and some of the conversations around the things that we're discussing. Hope to see you all next week.
Bye for now.
Bye.